Welcome to episode 5 of April Anger 2025. We're at the second round of the tournament, so you're going to start seeing all the characters who won their first match. Our first match is going to be Ganondorf against King Dedede. Two heavy hitters. Definitely going to increase the speed this match goes, although I guess they both do have higher weights, so that could prolong the match, but generally, I'd say these characters hit harder than take hits well, if that's any sort of measurement that makes sense. King Dedede goes for an awesome intimidation tactic. He does thankfully not kill himself, able to successfully land back on the platform. Ganondorf struggling to get one of these smash attacks to hit King Dedede, who almost got Ganondorf off the side of the screen. Up special, trading with King Dedede, Ganondorf able to get back to the ledge. It can be a difficult situation. Ganondorf doesn't have a great recovery, and I guess that doesn't matter if you get spiked off the bottom of the screen. King Dedede, again, barely able to angle his super Dedede jump so that he doesn't kill himself with it. And Ganondorf did not elect to go for a punish there, which is unfortunate because Ganondorf is a very hard-hitting character, so he normally has to go for all of those he gets presented with. Spiking King Dedede into the stage, so it didn't kill, but it almost did, and then a down smash did finish off that stock. Both of these amiibo normally do pretty well every year. Obviously, while neither of them have won the tournament, they all at least have a good showing, usually winning at least one match. King Dedede having just enough recovery to make it back to the stage. Goes for an up smash, but his hammer isn't quite long enough to hit the platform. Which is also a weird thing to say, because his hammer is definitely physically long enough, but he doesn't hold it far enough away for his up smash. Forward smash is able to get King Dedede jumping around Ganondorf. Whenever you play against a Ganondorf, you normally can't stay too close to him, simply because if you get anything wrong, you take a Ganondorf forward smash to the face, and Ganondorf smash attacks are some of the strongest in the game. Both characters low, Ganondorf able to recover, just barely using his magnet hands to grab onto the stage. He's got King Dedede on the ropes, and King Dedede didn't elect to go for a get-up option, so he got dash attacked by Ganondorf. Luckily for King Dedede, he was just heavy enough to not die, but most other characters would've. Ganondorf air dodging to the stage, gets him there, drops off, and kills King Dedede with an up air, bouncing him off the stage. Good job to Ganondorf. And for a second match, we're going to have Villager against Lucas. Gonna be on Kalos Pokemon League again. A wide open stage. Both of these characters do have projectiles and various methods of dealing with them. Lucas with a very ambitious down smash. He did at least get some shield damage on Villager. And Villager sent out a Lloyd Rocket. He did get kicked in the head by Lucas, but the Lloyd Rocket did explode on Lucas thereafter, making it a... Well, I don't know how often I can recommend taking those sorts of trades. Most characters don't appreciate taking the damage. Lucas struggling to get back onto the stage. His air dodge gets him there, although he does get hit by a flower pot. Villager really seems to love jumping around Lucas. A little dangerous because Lucas has a strong hitting up smash that has a wide area of effect. So if Lucas were to think to go for that move, then he could probably keep hitting Villager with it, but so far Lucas hasn't had that thought, I don't think. A slingshot pellet near the side of the stage is enough to kill Lucas. Something to know about that move is that, well, first of all, it shoots out the projectile, of course. And there is the up smash we talked about. Projectiles in Smash Ultimate actually going all the way back until Smash Bros. Brawl. With certain exceptions, projectiles deal less damage the farther they travel, effectively making it damage fall off, which also makes it harder to camp, so I appreciate that. But Villager's forward air and backwards air both have that projectile on them, which does still depreciate, I guess I should say. It still does have the damage fall off. So the end result is the move is actually, at least in my experience, better at killing when you hit the base of the move instead of the very end of the slingshot pellet's range. So yes, that move can kill, even if you're normally used to seeing it gimp people's recovery. Lucas going high, able to avoid Villager. Villager can go very low with a long-reaching recovery that has some ways of changing its trajectory. You pull out the balloon helmet and you get to fly around, and you do get to steer yourself during that. You aren't fast enough that you're going to, for example, going to be able to do a loop-de-loop around the opponent, but you can still choose between options like going left, going right, and the like. Lucas has been spending a lot of this game just struggling to get back onto the stage. He has, with one exception, made it back to the stage every time so far. And Lucas actually went for a forward smash deflection on the Lloyd rocket, but he held it far too long and actually got hit by the rocket directly. Villager going for an air dodge instead of an up air. A more reasonable option instead of a greedier option, but it worked. And that up air did kill Lucas. Lucas is now 2 stocks behind. He has a lot of ground to make up. And Villager isn't exactly playing in a way that's leaving him exposed to a lot of danger. Lucas able to recover, gets a back air spike on Villager. And a raw forward smash. If Lucas keeps this up, he might actually be looking at a 3rd stock situation. Especially because Villager hasn't hit him at all this stock. I don't know what the magic switch was, but it clearly worked for Lucas. Lucas able to recover, actually barely landing on the top platform. Lucas finally taking his first damage of the stock after dealing almost 100% to Villager. Villager has resorted back to the jumping tactic. And Lucas found a way out. He grabbed Villager when he was landing. And he's learned to avoid the Lloyd rocket as well. That time it was unavoidable, of course. He had already committed to the move when the rocket was spawned. Forward air is actually enough to kill Villager off the side of the screen. This is anyone's game now. Assuming nobody dies right here during this edge guard. No one did. Lucas goes for a spike. Villager was at 0%, so that's not going to kill. Lucas goes for a spike. Successfully recovers. Gets another spike. Villager has enough recovery to make it. Villager actually does have a fuel meter for his balloon helmet, which is a weird sentence to say. If he uses up special too much, he starts to lose the total distance he can travel on his recovery. When you're completely out of fuel, it's actually a pathetically small recovery, barely gaining you any distance. You naturally regenerate fuel just by standing on the ground. So in general, you can go off stage once or twice really far, but if you start getting too greedy and try to never hit the ground, you will face the harsh reality of not having infinite resources. Additionally, it's one of the few resource meters in the game that I can think of that doesn't have any sort of visual indication. That was one of the big things they tried to talk about when first introducing Smash Ultimate, that there were visual indicators for those sorts of things now, and Villager never got one. Something traded, and Lucas took the brunt of that attack. Got really close at the end, but Villager was able to pull it out. And here we have Pichu against Zelda. going to be on Final Destination for this one. Zelda's normally a character who has a lot of projectiles that normally benefits from being on a stage with no platforms. Pichu does have a projectile of his own, which does make it significantly harder for a character like Zelda to camp. And Pichu also has some pretty strong combos, which he seems to be landing all of. Normally, Pichu's self-damage about outpaces the auto-heal, but it's starting to look like that if Pichu is just not ever getting hit, that's not something he's going to have to worry about. Pichu is just manhandling Zelda, very much in control of this fight. Zelda gets sent off stage, uses an up air to not get spiked by Pichu. Good move on Zelda's part. Landing another up air. The falling up air is something that the Zelda amiibo seems to really like to go for, even though I can't exactly advise it. Zelda does get punished and killed off the side of the screen. Pichu almost dying the same way, but not quite. Pichu is the lightest character in the game, so he will die a little bit earlier to stuff like that than... Well, he will actually die earlier to stuff like that than any other character, but he might be dying slightly earlier than you might expect. Pichu uses a Thunder Jolt below the ledge, makes it harder for him to recover. Gets Zelda, but she's able to recover it. She got a tech, so she was able to grab the ledge there. Lightning Kick is able to kill Pichu even from across the stage. Pichu going for an up special recovery when he clearly didn't need to there. Getting his ledge grab caught out by Zelda's up air. That might have been a 2-frame. It can be a little bit hard to tell, especially since Zelda spawned a massive explosion. Normally, when you think of a 2-frame, you think of a move that can hit below the ledge while your character is on top of the ledge. But that time, Zelda was quite certainly below it. Lightning Kick is able to take Pichu's second stock. Pichu grabbing the ledge for what I would have thought would have been just a little bit too long. There are limits to how much invincibility you get on the ledge. The less time you're airborne, you get less invincibility, and the higher percentage you're at as well. So there are risks to just holding onto the ledge forever, because you will at some point be vulnerable to damage. Zelda keeps escorting Pichu back to the ledge with her up special recovery. It is an upwards pointing hitbox. Up there near the top end of the screen is able to secure this game for Zelda. Pichu is out of the tournament. And here we have Sora against Cloud. Though it is technically the Cloudy amiibo. I always go back and forth on whether I want to introduce the character name or the amiibo name. One is better for newcomers and one is better for experienced watchers? Non-newcomers? I don't have a term for people who aren't new at something. I guess you could call them professional watchers, but that just feels weird. Sora's trying to evade Cloud a lot, but he just keeps getting hit by the enormous... Okay, so it's a huge sword. I don't know if swords get reclassified as some other type of blade when they're that large. Obviously, since Cloud is effectively an anime character, it's like he has a sword that was just ripped off of a piece of factory machinery. It makes sense in the story of Final Fantasy, but for the sake of Smash Brothers, it does mean that Cloud basically has a box cutter that has been scaled up to the size of the human sword equivalent. After losing his first stock, Cloud, he's actually done a great job retracing his steps. Alright, Cloud has limit. Let's see how he uses it. He does use it on a limit Clim Hazard. It did hit Sora, and Sora is a floatier airborne character, so it can be more useful in this matchup. It usually is much better at recovering than other... Well, first of all, it's better than his normal Clim Hazard, but also his other limit break moves are better at killing or dealing damage. Cloud's off stage again. Sora pursuits. And nobody dies. Sora keeps sending Cloud off stage. Cloud does have a slightly weak recovery. It's not terrible, and sometimes he does get the limit recovery you just saw there. But his recovery is rather predictable. Sora doesn't have any good downwards aerial attacks. He has a down air, of course, but it sends him barreling downwards, so it's usually used more for landing instead of trying to hit opponents off stage. Especially because if you do it, there's a very high risk that you will die yourself, which is not what you normally want in an edge guard. Sora almost killing with the up air. Cloudy didn't hit his limit break, and he is 2 stocks behind. This is almost guaranteed to not go in his favor. Especially if he can't grab the ledge. That match goes to Sora. And now we have Cloud against Rosalina. This is Cloud, not Cloudy, who you saw last match. And I guess technically Rosalina's full character name is Rosalina and Luma. I feel like that name's always a little disingenuous, though, because it's Rosalina and whatever Luma happens to be with her that day. The first one's always yellow. But after that, they randomly change colors, which doesn't, I don't think, have any effect on actual gameplay. But it is a nice visual difference. Rosalina perfectly timing that parry and getting a second parry right after. Even more impressive because Cloud was actually charging up his forward smash for a little bit, which also means that if Rosalina had dropped her shield too early to parry, she would have just eaten the forward smash. She did get spiked off the bottom of the screen, so I guess it didn't have that lasting of an impact. And she released her shield too early, getting hit by the projectile, and Cloud didn't make it back to the ledge. We are now playing a 2-stock game, effectively. Rosalina needs to land. She is a floatier character, which makes sense because she is someone who takes, well, who spends most of her time in space. She does have some weird floating powers that the Mario series never really elaborates on, just that she can fly, I guess. She doesn't like her feet to touch the ground, which is also, I would think it's got to be a design hurdle to overcome, because Rosalina is already an incredibly tall character, on top of the fact that she's always floating above the ground. I'll bet she's usually near the upper limit of how tall a character is allowed to be in any of the Mario group games that she's always in. Rosalina with a great impromptu combo, getting Luma to hit Cloud, because Luma did not get hit by the side special. Rosalina might not have been able to grab the ledge there. She didn't angle her recovery right. Twice in a row, actually. Cloud seems to keep saving her. It's a little bit hard to tell. There aren't many ways to consistently measure things in Smash Ultimate, because the camera always moves, and similar things like that. Cloud tries to grab after the check chase. Rosalina gets the parry again after heavily charging an up smash. I want to say it's a coincidence, but 2 times in a row, I don't think you can... You can, of course, get lucky that many times in a row. It's only 2. But 2 is usually when you start to consider that something is not, in fact, random and is probably correlated in some way. Rosalina falling out of Cloud's jab, able to hit him with her own. Cloud has a limit break. Let's see what he uses it on. He instantly whiffs a neutral special. Blade Beam, I believe. Cloud doesn't get the spiking hitbox, but he still kills Rosalina off the side of the screen. And now we have Young Link against Fox. Looks like we're going to be on Final Destination for this one. Young Link with some very ambitious projectiles. Fox is a very agile character, so he could have gotten hit by them. And it's possible Young Link was trying to, for example, preemptively stuff out a jump. Fox going off stage to edgeguard Young Link. Fox is one of the worst characters to edgeguard with, specifically because he is the fastest falling character in the game. He has the fastest fall speed. So if you were to do the Galileo cannonball drop test on Fox and any other character, Fox will hit the ground first because his falling speed is just greater than any other character's. Which actually is a problem when edge guarding, because if Fox is off stage, he loses distance a lot faster than anybody else. Which I suppose means he can try to catch up to them by falling towards them, but usually it means that he doesn't have enough time to try to have any offstage presence. See there, he did get a back air and he immediately had to recover back to the stage. Meanwhile, Young Link was able to take center stage. Fox rolling away from the grab, actually managing to avoid it. Fox going off stage again, actually able to hit Young Link, but Young Link was able to get the tech. Fox going for an up smash, but I don't think the late hitbox would have even hit Young Link, even if he hadn't hit Fox out of it. And a random up air is able to take Young Link's stock. Fox has a good up air. If you forget about it, it can and will kill you. Fox with an amazing Build-A-Bear combo there. I don't really see that. It's possible there's a slightly more optimal combo, so people always go for that instead. It's the weak hit of up smash on Young Link there. Trying to get Young Link off stage. Young Link gets a down tilt into an up air. Young Link jumping around trying to make sure that Fox can't approach him, I suppose. Young Link gets Fox with another up air. It is a kill move, and it is also Young Link's, I'm pretty sure, fastest aerial. I don't know the frame data off the top of my head, but it comes out very fast. Both characters just missing each other, weaving in and out, trying to be the one who lands the next hit. Young Link ended his hit stun with a forward air, but since Fox was below him, Fox just hit him with another up air. That is a risk to hit stun canceling, I guess is probably what it's called. It used to be a bigger mechanic in other games, most specifically in Brawl and a little bit in Smash 4. In Ultimate, it still exists, but due to the slightly faster general pace of the game, it carries a couple more risks to it than it used to. So you see it a little bit less just because it is no longer decidedly optimal. Both characters hitting each other with their recovery specials, and both characters successfully making it back to the stage. Forward smash is able to kill Fox out of the top corner. And now we have Olimar against King K. Rool. Going to be on Pokemon Stadium for this one. Pokemon Stadium 2, this is the second stage to be called that. King K. Rool lands a jab into forward smash. Normally that doesn't hit unless your opponent does something unoptimal, or usually they go for something reckless, which Olimar sort of did. Although, now that I say that out loud, it occurs to me that I wouldn't particularly call it reckless to simply not do anything, to have a delayed response. It is definitely hazardous but usually reckless involves some sort of gain. Olimar goes for a Pikmin pluck right in K. Rool's face. He does get stomped for it. Gets hit out of his recovery, but Olimar has a very long-reaching recovery, especially when he doesn't have all of his Pikmin. And King K. Rool lands the berry to down smash, but he sent Olimar to the wrong side of the stage, goes for a forward smash. Olimar mashes out quick enough. Belly Armor takes the, I think that was an up smash from Olimar right there. Olimar gets the tech, able to recover back to the stage. He is out of Pikmin. Goes for all three in the face of King K. Rool. I think that honestly led to his death because he didn't have enough time to avoid the crown. Olimar techs that spike even though it was right above the ground, and I honestly would have expected a launching hitbox instead of the spiking hitbox. Gets a Pikmin on King K. Rool. King K. Rool tries to get it off with his belly armor, but it doesn't seem to be working. Every failed attempt to remove the Pikmin, first of all, it puts K. Rool in hit lag, so that loses him valuable frames against Olimar. And also, he still takes damage from it. Probably not going to see a belly armor break this match. K. Rool in general doesn't normally seem to have that happen. It is, of course, always a possibility, but just due to the way all these amiibo play. Olimar gets buried immediately, but he's at such a low percent with such a fast mash, you might not have been able to see it. K. Rool recovering successfully. I don't know why Olimar went for a down smash there. I've never seen that hit anybody below the ledge. Especially because the Pikmin are always firmly above the ledge. Olimar air dodges into the cannonball. Not a great look. Gets a Pikmin on King K. Rool and a grab. Olimar's Pikmin do have different effects, basically different strengths and weaknesses, and the strength of the blue Pikmin is that it has increased throw strength. But because it was stuck to King K. Rool, Olimar couldn't use it, and he would have needed to use the up throw as well in order to kill. And for our last match of the video, we're going to be having Donkey Kong against Hero. Looks like we're going to be on Kalos for this match. Kalos. It's always been hard to pronounce things from the Pokemon series, although normally it's hardest to pronounce the Pokemon names. Unless, of course, I guess if you watch the TV show, then you probably know how to pronounce all of them. Donkey Kong going very low. I guess he got a Phantom Footstool off of Hero there. Able to very easily make it back. Getting an up smash on Hero as well. Hero is now at a dangerous percentage. Although if Donkey Kong keeps running into heavily charged smash attacks like that, Donkey Kong will also be at a very dangerous percentage. Falling up air. A little bit hard to hit, but still rewarding. Donkey Kong's up air is a pretty good move. Up smash is also a pretty good move. That takes Hero's first stock. Donkey Kong air dodging past the ledge, actually able to get back on the stage as an indirect result. Hero starts charging up a fireball, but I guess he decided he had more important matters to attend to. Something I have noticed about the amiibo, although I noticed it because it was pointed out to me by someone else, is that a lot of amiibo love to charge their projectiles, and then are they're not particularly encouraged to use those charged projectiles. Seems to be a weird trend, maybe just a gap in the amiibo's programming. Donkey Kong died off the side blast zone because of that. I actually thought he was going to live, although just barely. Donkey Kong with a falling neutral air. Unable to get a follow-up, though, on Hero. Donkey Kong going to the ledge that actually has a quicker recovery time than if he were to land on the stage. Up smashing hero, Donkey Kong is big enough that he can up smash the platforms on Kalos. Hero air dodges through and makes it back to the stage. Donkey Kong's down air barely missed hero there. If you actually were very keen-eyed, and assuming that the video compression doesn't get rid of the particular frame, whenever an attack will just barely miss another character, you actually get a little spark effect. Kind of a cool way of the game showing you, hey, we know that this almost hit, so here's a cool little indicator so that you know. And it's especially interesting because it was a feature they added in Brawl. Before that, in Smash Melee, you could, instead of getting the spark effect on a near miss, you would actually deal half damage to the opponent as sort of a compensation. But then people started to take it as they didn't hit the opponent enough, and they took it as a penalty instead of the game simply acknowledging that most impacts are normally a lot closer than that. So I can definitely see why they'd have to, well, why they decided to change that. It takes the mindset away from, oh, I wasn't good enough for something I don't quite understand, so I got less damage and usually no knockback, into, and there was a trade there. Donkey Kong quite obviously got the spike. The tornado came out too slow to save Hero's life. That's it for this episode. This was, of course, half of round 2. The next episode is going to be the other half of round 2. So stay tuned for that. But until then, bye.